cancel culture.
Oh my God.
I do not want to mention names because I don't want to have
Okay,
any
don't need,
lawsuits. Yes. But let's talk about cancel culture in general, I think.
Okay.
And it's not just in Singapore, I think elsewhere as well.
Yes.
This is thrown about a lot. So what are your thoughts on this? Is it really a problem? Is
Okay.
there such a thing as people being cancelled too much, or people to the point that they are afraid to articulate their actual views because of political correctness and being afraid of being cancelled?
Okay. Well, because we only have 7 minutes,
Yes.
I'm just
Yes.
going to be very blunt about this. Okay. So I think it's not very productive to talk about this issue using the term cancel culture, because it's just so bloody loaded, right? That people will
Right.
like, I don't know, they'll bring in all kinds of like other America stuff into it, and I think it's cleaner to not use that term and just talk about like what are we doing here, which is basically a lot of like, if I don't like what this person says, I don't like what this person does, then I am going to take this person down, you know? And and this whole cancel culture thing is using, so I'm going to look at it from an emotional and psychological lens, okay? So cancel culture is essentially about using shame, right? Using the weapon of shame as a, and shame is an incredibly powerful weapon because what's at stake here is social acceptance. So if I use shame, I am sort of like weaponizing that, and the threat here is social rejection or social disconnection, and most of us normal people like are damn scared of that. Even the most thick-skinned person will actually feel a lot of pain when masses or hundreds or thousands of people are all like, you know, I reject you, I'm going to make sure all your whatever brands and all that reject you also, you know. And it's, so the reason why a lot of people like using it is because it's very emotionally satisfying to use it. But it is a very but it's not a sustainable, and I will argue it's not an effective weapon, not as much as we think, right? So there's a couple of reasons, right? The first is that from a psychological perspective, right, everybody needs a platform of self-worth to stand on so that they can change. And if we are hoping to, if we're hoping for the individual to change, or we're hoping for that pattern of behavior to change, or we're hoping for society to change, right, then shame takes away that opportunity, because shame burns down that platform of self-worth, right? The distinction between shame and guilt, right, is shame is essentially grounded in the you are wrong or I am wrong. You know, it's a very identity-based emotion. But guilt is about actions. Like, I did something wrong. I said something wrong, right? So when you see, like, when you use shame on someone, shame corrodes the part of you that believes you can change, right? So if I am a mistake, if I am a liar, if I am like the devil's spawn or whatever it is that you're trying to shame me into believing about myself from an identity level, that means you're not separating my identity from my actions. You know, it's not like, wow, you did something wrong, you are wrong, you very shame. So if you do that to me, so two outcomes will happen. Either I get really so shamed and broken and I cannot change because I'm so bad already, I might as well continue being bad, right? Or the other reaction is the aggressive, okay lah, you say like that of me, then like that lor, what can I do? What can I do? I am this way, right? So it sort of takes away that possibility of change, right? And the second reason you don't want to use shame is that there's this phenomenon called secondary shame. That means when you watch someone being publicly shamed, there's a lot of audience watching and they go, die, I also don't want to be in that position. So they all like diam, right? They all like quiet, right? And so it actually results in a lot more silencing, because people don't want to be humiliated. So they keep back their points of view a lot more. And you don't want that in a democracy, right? And the third, and I think the most triggering one, right? And this is from the voice of an activist from the 70s, okay? The triggering quote is, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, right? That means you cannot use the same tools of oppression to take out the oppressor, right? Because the horrible thing is once you do that, you become the oppressor.
Right.
So shame changes the doesn't just
Right.
change the target, it changes you. Right. So that's why I think it's good to not use canceling or shaming as the tactic. Right? What you want to do is use accountability, and that's different. Accountability is not as fun. It takes a lot more
Right.
time, it takes a lot more work, but it's about preserving your dignity as the accuser or whatever. But it's also about preserving the dignity of the accused. Right?
Right.
So if you're
Right.
on the side of social justice, or you're on the side of let's have reform, then walao, you gotta do the damn hard work of accountability
Right.
lah. I gotta keep you
Right.
accountable. But not as fun as shame lah. Shame very
Right.
fun.
Right. Right. Right.
Which
Then
is why a lot of people like it.
what about
Mm.
what about repeat offenders, right? Do they
Mm.
really not deserve to be shamed if after a few times of holding them accountable, but still nothing happens, and they have a lot of they have a lot of sway in society, for instance, or there's a segment of people who listen to them. Wouldn't there be some room for publicly shaming the action, not the person?
Well, you can't really shame the action, you see.
I
So
see.
that's it.
I
Yeah.
see.
So
Right.
shame is
Yeah.
identity. So
Right.
what? Okay. So guilt is a more fruitful emotion to use than shame, if you would like.
Right.
Because
Right.
at least in guilt, there is. I mean, holding someone accountable is basically asking them to take a look at what they're guilty of,
Right. Right.
right? And I think that is fair. It's also very uncomfortable for you and the other person, but
Right.
it's a lot more productive in the long
Okay.
run. Yeah, because shame weaponizes lah. So if someone is a repeat offender and they're quite horrible, right? You shame them, right? They're going to become worse.
Right. Right.
So they'll become even more monstrous lah,
Right.
which is the last thing
Right.
you want, you see.
And they're
Yeah.
gonna play martyr, right?
They will,
So
yeah.
right, yeah. So would free speech be the antidote to hate speech instead of shaming or canceling?
I think more intentional speech. Yeah, not so much free speech for freedom's sake, but more intentional, clear, and kind speech would be damn powerful.
Okay.
It's actually very difficult.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, to
Okay.
ensure that every word has intent to be clear and kind.
Okay.